Our recent research found that some people still getting a monthly period in their late 30s and early 40s begin to experience a variety of physical and emotional changes, often seemingly out of the blue. Some report feeling forgetful, having a harder time concentrating, being more irritable, impatient with others, and generally short-tempered. Others notice breast tenderness, new anxiety, fatigue, and/or waking in the middle of the night and having a harder time getting back to sleep. These changes, often associated with menopause, are expected closer to 50, but not in the late 30s and early 40s, and certainly not with ongoing periods, so their arrival can be a source of surprise and sometimes concerning. Those who choose to consult a healthcare provider and are curious about a possible link to hormonal changes are often met with the response, "You're too young for perimenopause," or "This can't be perimenopause, you're still getting a regular period." So why does this happen? Well, the commonly held belief is that perimenopause begins with skipped periods or noticeably irregular cycle changes. Thus, the question clinicians ask is, are you getting a regular period? So let me step back a second here and give some background. In order to study and care for women in a more consistent way, an international group of clinicians and women's health researchers got together in 2001 and then again in 2011 to devise a kind of a standard way of charting the progression through the reproductive stages across the female lifespan. These two sessions are commonly referred to as the Stages of Reproductive Aging Workshop, or STRAW. The STRAW group defined the menopausal transition as beginning when cycle lengths vary persistently by 7 days. So the stage before the menopausal transition is called the late reproductive stage, or LRS. STRAW identified those in the LRS, late reproductive stage, as having regular periods, but noticing subtle changes to their cycle length and menstrual flow. So back to the research and why we think it's so important. Our research team is made up of 3 people with very different vantage points. There's me, Nina Kozlov, a woman in the late reproductive stage, Dr. Marcy Richardson, an OBGYN and medical director of a menopause clinic, and Dr. Nancy Woods, a pioneer in women's health research. Each of us in our different roles recognized that not enough attention had been paid to those around 40 who were still getting a monthly period, but also experiencing symptoms often associated with menopause. So we decided to investigate further. In 2020, we designed and conducted the Women Living Better survey. Over 3,000 people responded. There were Spanish and English versions. So here are the top 3 things we learned. First, symptoms often associated with menopause begin during the late reproductive stage, before menstrual cycle irregularity. Let me just stop and say that again in plainer language. Women with still monthly periods reported symptoms associated with menopause. Our second finding is that those in the late reproductive stage, before menstrual cycle irregularity, had a very similar symptom experience to those already in the menopausal transition after cycle irregularity. And the third thing is that while many people think of hot flashes as the hallmark symptom of menopause, the range of physical and emotional changes reported was really, really broad. In fact, we asked about 61 symptoms, and over half of those were endorsed by 30% of our respondents. So we believe this information can have a really meaningful impact for 3 groups of people in the following ways. For healthcare providers, what we learned can form the basis of anticipatory guidance. Sharing this information with those late 30s patients that are on the path to menopause should set realistic expectations for what's coming. It can also serve as a way to validate patients' experience for those that are having symptoms before irregularity. For those that are in their late 30s and early 40s with ongoing periods and symptoms, this information offers the knowledge that they are not alone. And seeing the broad range of symptoms reported should really be reassuring and comforting and validating. For women's health researchers, we hope our findings will spur new research about the late reproductive stage. And for those studying the whole menopausal transition, we hope that this will encourage the inclusion of younger subjects starting around 35. The current body of knowledge about this segment of the population really lacks this focus. Through a GoFundMe campaign, we were able to make our research open access so that it's available to all women and all healthcare providers. A link will be provided below this video. We hope that you will help us share this information widely. It's time that those on the path to menopause and their healthcare providers know that symptoms can begin while periods are still coming monthly. Thank you.